It's another Football Friday on News OK Live. I'm Mike Sherman, sports editor of the Oklahoman, joined by columnist Jenny Carlson here in studio at 100 West Main, Suite 100 in downtown Oklahoma City. We're talking college football still. There's one more game to play, and our columnist Barry Trammell is at the Camelback Inn in Phoenix, there to cover it. How you doing, Barry?
Very well, very well.
From his home in Norman, joining us on the Hangout is OU beat writer Jason Kersey.
Hello.
And from somewhere here in Oklahoma City, just back from the Rocky Mountains, OSU beat writer Kyle Fredrickson.
Good to be here.
How was your trip, Kyle?
It was good. It was a bit rushed, but I got a few very Colorado things done in a short amount of time, so I can't complain.
Weren't there some snowmobiles and fishing involved in your trip?
Yes, doing some ice fishing back to my roots a little bit. Sounds crazy to Oklahomans to sit on a sheet of ice for 6 hours and stare through a hole and try to catch fish, but it's actually pretty fun. Don't bag it until you do it.
You didn't sell it that well.
Hey, I feel a lot better. You start talking about doing some Colorado things, I think you're smoking some weed.
You never know what they're doing. Hey, it's not mutually exclusive. There's a reason why you're sitting on a block of ice for 6 hours.
Staring into a dark hole doesn't seem so bad, I guess.
It's not just that you're auditioning for the Great American Sportsman, Barry. But let's start with the field house. Kyle, our first question's for you. True or false? A lot of news out about Mason Rudolph, a lot of talk about him. Jenny had a column this week. You had a story. True or false? OSU's really compromised its ability to maximize the potential of an elite quarterback the last couple of years.
Well, I think there's no doubt about it. It's a truth. And I think part of the reason why we're even talking about this was because the last OSU quarterback who was elite that they were able to maximize his talent was obviously Brandon Weeden. But think about the supporting cast that team had. When you have an NFL receiver, an NFL running back, and an offensive line like that, it wasn't all that difficult to maximize Weeden's talents to the point where they made that Fiesta Bowl and went and beat Stanford. So, in terms of this season, looking at Rudolph and how much they were able to utilize all of his strengths, certainly, I think he fell short of what he's capable of doing, partly because, like Jenny wrote, with the offensive line issues and OSU's inability to run the ball, J.W. Walsh coming in so many times in the red zone. But I will give Gundy and this coaching staff a lot of credit because in terms of this year, they didn't maximize Rudolph's ability, but I think from a team-wide picture, you could definitely make the argument that they maximized their talent across the board with what they're able to do with the pieces. But as the Cowboys move forward, I mean, Mason Rudolph has got to be the centerpiece of this team. That this team can't rely on excuses moving forward as to why he's not performing at an elite level because he's that caliber of player. We've seen it. So the good news. They return so much next season. You're right. At this point, we have not seen the best of what Mason Rudolph can do.
Jenny, what about it? You wrote on this, and I think you're going to go with true.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, and you know what? They made some decisions, as I wrote, and we've written a couple different times, made decisions about how they're going to allot scholarships. They decided a couple years ago when the Big 12 kept trending towards more and more spread offenses, and OSU did as well. Mike Gundy made the decision, I'm going to give a few more scholarships to my defense. He just felt like the offense could scheme and figure out ways to overcome having less scholarship players, but the area that he took those scholarships away from was largely offensive line, and we've seen now the result of that. Now, I'm not saying that's 100% on less scholarships because I think you have to look at, how well did Joe Wickline recruit his last years in Stillwater. I think that's a question mark. They've obviously run through a lot of offensive line coaches, so you sort of got the issue of consistency and really trying to build a position that hasn't had consistent coaching there. So I think it's more than one thing when you talk about scholarships, but clearly an area that is thin on talent and skill. They got to give back some of those scholarships to that offensive line to try and go out and get some guys that can help maximize Mason Rudolph, the run game, right away.
Barry, let me give you an extra credit potential for your answer. True or false? But then could you tell me What's a hidden reason for this? Is there a hidden reason for this? I like to think that Gundy's decision not to play Rudolph until he absolutely had to was part of the reason why they haven't maximized his potential.
Well, now, first of all, I'm not so sure I'm going to buy off that they haven't maximized. They made the Sugar Bowl, for crying out loud. This isn't Ohio State we're talking about. I mean, Oklahoma State's been in one major bowl until last Friday. OSU had been in one major bowl since World War II. And then they make the Sugar Bowl. I mean, sure they could have won the Big 12. It'd been nice to win the Big 12, but let's not pretend this was some kind of disastrous season. And while, yeah, the offensive line is in shambles, if you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, Peter's going to be poorer. And the last we saw that OSU defense, and the time before that, and the time before that, and the time before that, the OSU defense was getting torched. So I wouldn't want to forget that OSU defense. The best help that Mason Rudolph could get is if that defense held teams under 45 points, then give them a chance to win a ball game.
Well, I would argue on the maximize question that Mason Rudolph maximized the Cowboys. I mean, let's look at what he did, his body of work when he was healthy. I mean, we saw in him a quarterback that made the most out of really tough situations. I mean, how many times, Kyle, did you see them run right up the gut on first down and leave Mason Rudolph with, by the time they got to third down, it was 3rd and 9, 3rd and 12. I mean, he figured out a way to make the best out of really bad situations a ton this year. I just think he was such a big reason why they started out 10-0, especially when you see the way that run game struggled. I mean, my gosh, you have to give him a lot of credit for maximizing this Cowboy season.
So, Barry, I'm putting you down for false. Is that right?
Put me down for false. Also, I got something we want to bring up. I mean, 2/3 of the way through the season, I didn't say it, but some people of our august staff suggested that the most valuable player on this football team was Mason Rudolph's backup. So
that was not me.
So JW, I mean, let's not forget JW. So I love Mason Rudolph. I'm just saying, Oklahoma State, they got a lot of other things besides just protecting Mason Rudolph that have got to be also of a high import.
Well, I agree with that, but here's the other thing that I'll say about the run game, Sherman, and I don't know where anybody else comes down on this, but I'm not so sure how good or bad OSU's running backs are. I'm not sure we have a really good sense of how good or bad Chris Carson is or Rennie Childs is. I mean, I know that people are excited about the possibility of Barry J. Sanders coming in and playing.
That.
Sorry, I don't want to jump the gun, but I'm just not sure we have a real good sense of how skilled or not skilled those other guys are, because I mean, I just don't know that the play structure, the play calling, and the blocking was good enough to really have a solid read on those guys.
We'll bring in Jason Kersey, who, if he had a chance to vote for J.W. Walsh, we certainly know which way he would go. And Jason, we'll switch to OU on this. True or false, Kyler Murray is the next Baker Mayfield?
Well, he can't be the next Baker Mayfield. I mean, Baker Mayfield was barely recruited and didn't have barely any scholarship offers. Kyler Murray was a 5-star guy who had offers from just about everybody. So in terms of the next Baker Mayfield, I mean, maybe in terms of style of play, there are some similarities there, maybe a little bit undersized, mobile, able to make plays outside the pocket. But I don't know that we're going to see another Baker Mayfield.
How about it, Barry? Let's just talk about what he could bring to the Sooners, not how he got here. Could he? Is he the next Baker Mayfield?
Well, I don't know. I'm going to have to see him play first. I didn't think Baker Mayfield would be the next Baker Mayfield, so I'm no expert. But, the key with this is the Sooners have other quarterbacks once Mayfield's gone. Austin Kendall's a highly recruited guy. Kyler Murray was, for a true freshman, was interesting at Texas A&M, but not particularly spectacular. So I think it's a fascinating plot to the Oklahoma quarterback soap opera, but I would think that I'd want to hold my horses. Catching lightning out of a bottle, which basically Kyler Murray is like Baker Mayfield, and that he sort of just fell out of the sky on top of Bob Stoops' head. to catch lightning like that twice in a 2-3 year span would probably be testing the football gods.
The football gods could also be tested, Jenny, by something which you wrote after the bowl game or off the bowl game. The uh-oh of Baker Mayfield is the way he plays.
Yeah.
And now in 2 of his last 3 games, if we're keeping score at home, he's left the game due to a possible concussion. Kyler Murray's another one of those runaround guys, extend plays, extend them too long. So is he the next Baker Mayfield? Soup to nuts.
Right. Yeah, and I do think that that's a real concern. I'm like Barry. I don't know that I've seen enough of Kyler Murray to say for sure how he would fit in. I mean, I think, the rough road that he had this last season at Texas A&M, it's got to give you a little pause. But, Baker Mayfield had an equally rough go his last year at Texas Tech, and clearly it was much better than you might guess after the way that season worked out in Lubbock. So, it's anybody's guess. Sometimes guys just need fresh starts. I mean, that's the truth of the matter. A guy like Trevor Knight leaving OU for Texas A&M, things look rocky at Texas A&M. They've lost 2 quarterbacks. Their offensive coordinator's gone. Their AD just left and has been replaced. So it looks like a little bit of a mess there. But frankly, sometimes guys just need to start anew and regain that confidence. So maybe Kyler Murray does sort of have that, regeneration of confidence in Norman. We'll have to see. But the concussion question is a huge one, and we'll not know until we get a little bit in next season. I mean, he may go a long time, Sherm, and not have any problems. That's the truth of the matter. But we won't know until we see. And, the 2 plays he gets hurt on, while the dive after the guy in the Orange Bowl was a bit of an extreme play, it's not out of the ordinary for him. It's not like we saw him get hurt on plays where you said, oh, man, we've never seen that before out of Baker Mayfield. He got hurt on plays that he will do or try to make on a regular basis.
The reason they love him. I got some good news for Barry Trammell and our viewers. Barry's got to go in 5 minutes, so we're going to go fast through the rest of these. Consider all these questions lightning round. Kyle, we're starting with you on this one. Fill in the blank. Barry J. Sanders' arrival at OSU would be?
Fun to write about. Beyond that, I don't know. There's a whole lot more to say because he didn't do a ton at Stanford. 600 yards, rushing 5 touchdowns in a few years. A cool story, but I don't think this is anything like the Cowboys are going to find in terms of a solution to run game.
I get to bring Jason Kersey in on this question, given his background of covering Heritage Hall when he was covering high schools. Complete the sentence for me, Jason. Barry J. Sanders' arrival at OSU would be?
I think it would be really cool. I mean, this is a guy, Oklahoma State was his second option. He chose Stanford, obviously there between the two, but, he's got his father's legacy there. He's not getting to play much, and he's not going to get to play much with Christian McCaffrey there. So I think it'd be a lot of fun if he transferred to Oklahoma State, and it'd be really cool. It'd be really cool if he was successful there. But like Kyle said, I have no idea if that's possible.
Jenny, what would it be?
I mean, I think it'd be nothing but interesting. I mean, here he is, a legacy guy getting a chance to wear that OSU jersey like his dad did. I think it'd be interesting to see how he did.
Barry, fill in the blank.
Oh, it would be cool. I don't think it would be terribly impactful. The Cowboys, from what I've seen of Barry J., he's a solid college running back. That's what they've got. Nothing special. They could really use special. Oklahoma State is accustomed to special at tailback.
I'm going to go with it would be good native advertising for a certain car dealership in Stillwater. Barry, stay with you. Given all the intrigue, how the season ended, the magical November ride, complete this sentence. The Bob Stoops statue is
nearing its second public appearance. It was a good season. It was an excellent season. You win the Big 12, that's a good season. That's a great season for the Sooners. They made the playoff. Sure, you want to beat Clemson. Sure, you want to win. But this was an excellent season for Oklahoma football, both for what they did and for what it means in the future. It looks like OU football's on the uptick. I think the statue is closer than ever to being out of wraps, if in fact it has ever been under wraps.
Exactly. You stole my line.
Yeah.
Jenny, the Bob Stoops statue is?
Well, I was going to say about to be pulled out of a storage closet somewhere, but yeah, do we actually know it ever went into a storage closet after it made a very public appearance on the back of a trailer all the way from Texas? Yeah, I think the Bob Stoops statue is soon to make an official public appearance. How about that?
Jason, what is it?
Let's see. It's funny. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Honestly, the whole the idea that they rolled it down Lindsay Street on the back of a trailer, unwrapped. It's just and it's sort of it's just one of those things that the less they want to talk about it, the more mysterious it is, and the more I want to find out about it. So we'll see where that goes, but funny is my answer.
Kyle, I'm gonna let you play on this one too. The Bob Stoops statue is?
It's going up before a Barry Sanders statue was going up at OSU, I think. I think that's also kind of crazy. This is kind of a conversation we've had, but the fact that they haven't immortalized one of the greatest running backs in college football history, let alone school history, with a statue is kind of strange, I think. So maybe Barry's going to be next down the line. Maybe someone will be pulling him down the strip and still walk and his the ape flapping in the wind or whatever. So
this is bucking to be the Barry J. Sanders and Barry Sanders episode of Football Friday. Guys, let's go to our last questions. Pick 'em. Guys, let's go to Alabama Clemson. Who you got, Jenny?
I'm picking Clemson. I think it's going to be a heck of a game. Now, I think I came away from that Orange Bowl against Oklahoma believing that Clemson was better defensively running the ball than I thought they were, and Watson was not as good throwing the ball. But I still think their pass-run combo is going to give Alabama a tough time. Sort of a la Ole Miss. I don't think it's not going to be maybe that much of a spread between Alabama and Clemson as it was between Alabama and Ole Miss, but I like Clemson in this game.
Good comparison. Jason, who you got?
I took Clemson in this game. You know, Alabama struggled against dynamic quarterbacks like Deshaun Watson in the past, and I think that's probably going to happen again. I like the Tigers in this one.
That's unfortunate that I just found out about that when I read it in the paper and when you reminded me, because we're tied in the pick standings.
No, we're not. I'm in second place. We're not tied.
We're tied.
Ask Barry.
There's a tiebreaker if I pick, but we both pick Clemson. Now you're going to win.
Oh, no.
That stinks. I would have picked Alabama, obviously. Kyle, who you got?
I got Alabama. Obviously it's easy to go with Clemson being what they did to OU, tuned in that we all were to that game. But my goodness, the way that they beat Michigan State and Nick Saban and this defense, I don't think there's an offense in the country that can really put up a whole ton of numbers on these guys at this point in the year with how well they're playing. So I got Alabama.
Barry, the Steel Curtain has relocated to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, I guess. Who are you picking?
Did we lose Barry?
No, Barry. He took off to his press conference. I knew it was going to happen.
He picked Clemson as well, didn't he?
He picked Clemson. Yeah. It's in print. Okay, last question for the remainders of us. Folks, I sent you the picks grids. I took a picture of them and sent them to everybody today. We're looking back at our best and worst predictions of the college football preseason. We published them in our, I can't remember, was it Back to the Future or Star Wars?
It was our Star Wars.
It was Star Wars.
Yeah.
We would have liked to go Back to the Future to change some of these picks. Jenny, your best prediction and your worst prediction.
Well, my worst is easily the teams I had in the Final Four. I mean, we talked about picks pretty early on in the season, and already at that point I think I'd lost two. Oregon and Auburn were already gone at that point. My other two were Ohio State and TCU. I totally failed on those. But you know what? I don't think any of us had a real good feel for where this Final Four was going to land. If any of us had one, I'll be surprised. Let me look. Oh, Barry had Alabama.
I had Clemson.
You did have Clemson. Way to go, Jason.
Hey.
But past that, Ryan Sharp.
But I also had Auburn. So
yeah, Ryan Sharp, our assistant sports editor, said the program on the decline was Clemson. I didn't have anything quite that bad, but I don't know. My best one, I think a lot of us said Mason Rudolph was the best OSU player in our OSU picks, and that came to be. And James Washington overlooked also.
You've slandered Ryan Sharp.
I did?
That was John Helsley.
Oh,
who,
sorry.
No. John Helsley had a team on the rise. Ryan Aber had Clemson as a team on the decline.
Oops.
Jason, your best and worst picks.
Well, let's see. I said that Frank Beamer was on the decline, and that kind of came true. I mean, he's not the coach. He's retired. I said Texas was a trap game for OU. That's a pretty good one.
That's a good one.
Said Joe Mixon would be the best newcomer.
I think it was a pick one situation.
I think that was Baker Mayfield or nobody there, friend.
Baker Mayfield was on the team last year.
Joe Mixon was around last year too, my friend.
Oh, she's got you on that one.
Wasn't on the roster.
What was your worst? This is the time to fess up. What was your worst pick?
Coach on the rise, Charlie Strong.
Oops.
Ouch. Kyle, best and worst.
Worst pick, I picked Cardale Jones to win the Heisman. Did not even hold on to that starting spot for long. So credit to me for that one. But best pick, hey, I picked 10 wins for OSU and a berth in the Sugar Bowl, albeit against Auburn. So something to be said about that. But my best pick all year was predicting that Ben Grogan game winner at Texas. True. Barry chiding me for it, and then it came true. So I'll hold on to that one for a while.
That's a good one. I need to point out that Jenny picked Ole Miss, OSU, Sugar Bowl. Only person.
Wow.
That's the best pick of the whole lot.
Thank you.
That's pretty dang good.
I'm going with my worst pick as being when I picked Samaje Perine, the most overlooked Sooner, and picked Joe Mixon as the best one. The only person Samaje Perine is overlooked by is me. And then I'm going to go with the best. I got to give it up to myself, as somebody on the radio says. I picked the upset of the year, Texas over Baylor.
Hey,
not
there
bad.
you go.
Not bad. Hey, that's all for this edition of Football Friday, but you can stay with the best team anywhere, every day at News OK and every morning in the Oklahoman.